I'm going to show you how to put together your very first AI agent. I'm going to show you everything you need to know about how it works, what it does, and how to actually configure it and put it together. This is going to be life-changing stuff for a lot of you guys who want to make money with AI but have no idea where to start. This is a very foundational thing in AI automation. It's basically understanding AI agents, how to put them together, how do they work behind the hood. What I'm going to do right now is show you a demo right here. Off the bat, what you're looking at right here is this agent's brain is using OpenAI, meaning it's using some version of ChatGPT as its large language model to power its brain. And it has memory and context, meaning it can reference previous interactions that it has with the user, and it has access to 3 different tools. If you've been following along to everything that I've been teaching you guys, you understand what these tools are. You understand what tool calling is. But basically, all these are is little actions that AI can do inside of other business applications. For example, in this demo right here, this agent has access 3 tools. The very first one right here, get availability tool. It can get an availability from a specific calendar. And it has a Google Docs tool, meaning it can look inside of a specific Google Doc and it can create a booking inside of a Google Calendar. Now, I already tied this to a specific document and a calendar. And if you've been following along in this journey where I'm showing you guys basically how to build and sell your very first AI automation, you're going to be seeing this document. This should look very familiar for you guys because this is basically where I gave everybody that $4,000 local business AI outreach system that we're going to be using. And this is where we're going to be, the entire execution plan, basically everything that we're going to be doing is going to be inside of this document right here. This agent, this one right here, can basically look inside of this document right now and reference every single thing inside of it when we ask it about it. So now look at this very first node. This is the trigger. This is how the agent starts. And this basically says when a chat message is received, meaning it's expecting a chat. So this is a chat window going to be right here for us. If I click on open chat, and there it is right here. Here's where we're going to be interacting with the actual agent. So what's going to happen is every single time I say something to the agent, the thing that I say is going to, land here, and then it's going to go to the main central AI agent hub where it's going to decide, okay, what do I need to do next? Now, as soon as I say hi, what you're going to see next is probably one of the coolest things ever if you've never seen it. You're going to see this agent on its own decide what to use in order to respond to me. So let's go ahead and say hi. And look at that. It's going to hit here and immediately it went to this OpenAI chat model node because it figured out it needed to use its brain to come up with a response for me. And it used the memory node because it had to store the entire conversation inside of the memory because that's how it's going to reference it in the future interactions. Off of the bat, look at this. We got a response. Hi, how can I help you today? Now, what I'm going to do next is I'm going to tell it to look inside of the document right here. So I'm going to open it up and I'm going to ask it, give me the URL to the full voice AI live stream that I did. Okay, very simple thing. I'm going to jump back here. I'm going to say, look inside the doc and give me the URL to the voice AI live stream. And I swear every time I see this, it gets better and better. You're going to see it reference that Google Doc tool on its own immediately. So look at this. It used the chat model. Look at this path right here. Boom. It just used it. It went back. It got everything from that Google Doc, sent it to the large language model, and look at the response. Found it. The live stream URL is boom. It gave me the URL immediately. It looked inside the document on its own, looked through what it needed to find, found it, and gave me a response. And I haven't even told it to do anything else with the booking because now what if I tell it to do multiple things inside of different applications, it can automatically use each tool that it needs to use on its own without me having to tell it what's going on. It's going to say pew, 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 and then bring the response back to the LLM and give me a response in the chat window. Now I'm going to tell it something to make it use all of these tools. I said, now create a calendar event for 10 p.m. on Monday, Chicago time zone, and use the URL as the title of the event. What this is forcing it to do is look inside of its memory, find that URL, and then know, okay, now I have to find an availability for that day. If it's available, it's going to create that. We're going to see it all happen live as soon as I click send. So look at this. I just sent it. Now, okay, it looked inside of the memory. It's going back to the LLM to figure out what it needs to do next. So it sent me a response. It says, do you mean tomorrow or a different Monday? Also, how long should it be? Let's go ahead and say tomorrow and 1 hour. Okay, so now that we gave it that input back, again, it's referencing memory to figure out the last thing that we set together, and then it's going back to the large language model to figure out what it needs to do next. And now we should see it at least use that create an event tool. There it is. It just fired it off, and it should have created an event inside of the calendar for basically what we just told it. Now, look at this response, okay? Done. I created an event. Here's the title. Here's one. If I open up my Google Calendar right now, there's that event, 10 p.m., and it used the YouTube URL as that link. I mean, folks, it's using multiple tools on its own, and I don't even have to tell it what to do and when to do it. It's using its large language model as the brain. This is the power of AI agents and why businesses use them to basically streamline and optimize any business process without having to have somebody manually sit there and waste hours doing it. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through how to build this exact demo that I just showed you. Super simple demo. I'm going to pretend I'm in your shoes, starting basically from scratch and show you how to get get this little tiny thing up and running. Now, if you've been following along and you're familiar with Make, you know how I gave you guys the literal file for the $4,000 local AI outreach system. You can do the same thing inside of N8N, same idea. Click on the three dots, import from URL or import from file. So at some point in the future, I'm probably going to be giving you guys a bunch of templates and blueprints for N8N workflows and automations that I built. So I just want to let you know right now. Now here, you're going to want to create an account. Obviously, you don't have one, so you're going to click on Get Started. And the way that N8N works is it's not like Make.com where they give you a free tier, but what they're going to do is they're going to give you a 14-day trial to basically do everything you want inside of an account. You got to fill this out, and then you're going to get that trial to actually do whatever it is you want to build. So I just filled everything out. I'm going to click Start 14-day trial, and then from there, we should get a page that's, onboarding us, asking us a few different questions. I'm literally just going to breeze through these. And now it's spinning up our actual workspace, so I'm just going to wait a few minutes and wait for this to get finished. Okay, boom, so it just finished. I'm going to click Start Automating, and then from here, we should see the actual UI for whatever it is we have to do. As this is brand new, yours is not going to have anything in it, and this section is going to be totally empty. Quick overview of what you're looking at. This overview tab is going to let you see everything from a bird's eye view, all of your workflows, and then your credentials and your executions. So workflows is obviously all the automations that you're building. Credentials is going to be all the connections that you created. For example, a connection to Gmail or a connection to Google Calendar. Here's where you're going to be able to add it or remove it. And then executions, you're going to see a history of your workflows that are running. Every time your workflow runs, you're going to see a dashboard right here. So basically, if I switch to my other account right here and just show you guys what that looks like here, if I click on executions, here's that. There's a history. You're going to live here 92% of the time on this specific tab right here. The reason I'm not saying 100 is because sometimes you're going to have to do things maybe inside of settings, and that's only rarely, right? So inside of settings, you're going to see you can update personal profile information, enable two-factor authentication, invite users into your workspace, or use N8N from an API perspective. We're not going to dive into most of this because this is all more of like admin settings, okay? So you're going to be here most of the time. Now, let's say I want to create an automation here. I'm going to click Create Workflow, and you're going to see a UI that looks like this. And by the way, UI stands for User Interface, and this is just terminology you're going to see again and again, so I just kind of wanted to say it out there so that way you're familiar with it. You're going to see this add first step. This is the trigger, okay? This is the event. This is an action. This is some scheduled thing that happens, the very first domino that knocks down the rest in your automation, right? This is the trigger for your automation. So if I click on this right here, you're going to see different types of triggers on the right side. You have manual triggers, meaning you have to manually trigger them yourself inside of N8N. And then you have on app event. This is when something happens in a business application like Airtable or Slack or whatever it is. Maybe somebody sends a message to a Telegram bot, and that would trigger this flow right here. Then you have on a schedule, meaning it runs every day, on an hour, every 2 minutes and 30 seconds, whatever it is that you would want. Or you have a webhook call, meaning you can get a webhook address, and basically a webhook is an address that listens for information or anything that gets sent to it. So once this webhook right here catches information, it would trigger the automation. You also have on form submission, meaning when somebody submits a form, whatever data that gets submitted to that form would, be pulled to this flow and then actually trigger it. Or you can trigger a workflow from another workflow. So imagine building this big workflow, and at specific point, it has to trigger this workflow, and then the result of that goes back to the main workflow right here. So you can chain different workflows together here. And then you also have the on chat message, which is what I showed you guys earlier. Maybe if I was building a chat bot where I want a back and forth conversation with my AI agent, that's going to be this on chat message. And the rest of these triggers I'm not going to cover right now because they're a little bit over the top for the demo or what we're doing right now in the beginning. Now, obviously, I'm going to click on chat message since I'm showing you the same one we did earlier. And that one starts with this chat message. Here you have the option to make this chat publicly available, meaning if you check this right now, you're going to see this URL right here. Basically, anybody who can go to this URL is going to be able to see the chat window to interact with this agent that you're building right here, just like how you would do inside of the testing environment. You can also host this chat right here or embed it, meaning if you have a website and you want to create an AI chatbot assistant for the website, you can embed that inside of the website directly and actually have a full tutorial for you guys for another day where I'm going to be showing you how to build fully powered AI assistants for basically any website. You also have other options right here like authentication. Do you want somebody to log in to access the user interface for the chat for the agent you're building? And then you have this initial message. That's the very first thing that the AI is going to say inside of that chat window. So for now, I'm literally just going to switch this off because I'm not trying to make it publicly available. This is just to show you guys how it's being built. Once we select this node right here, you're going to see a plus sign that lets me chain other things to it. This means that after a chat is received, something else needs to happen. So when I click this plus right here, you're going to see different tabs appear. These are the high level building blocks. So this AI tab contains all of the AI tools, right? Large language models, generative models, anything AI related is going to live inside of this tab. But that's not all right here. You have actions in an app. These are tasks or things inside of another business application like Google Sheets, Gmail, whatever it may be. And then you have data transformation. This is for converting data formats so you can use them later inside of your automation. For example, right, you might want to convert a time format before, leading it to another part of your automation. Here's where you would do that. And then there's flow. Here's where you can create different paths or branches inside of your automation. This is just things that control the flow of where the data is actually going. or you can set up loops that repeat the same thing for every piece of data that goes through it. I'm going to skip on call right now just because it's a little bit more advanced. And then you have this human in the loop, which waits for somebody like a human to do some sort of approval before continuing inside of the flow. Now, in our example, when a chat message is received, I want it to go to the brain of the system, which is the AI agent. And this is one of the main reasons why n8n is so powerful. This AI agent node is basically what makes it all work in this example. So if I click on AI, you're going to see a bunch of different options and large language models and AI tools. What we're after right here is this AI agent node. So when I click on AI agent, it opens up. And I'm just going to back out. You can see it requires 3 different things to actually operate. First, it needs the chat model. This is the actual brain it's going to use. ChatGPT, DeepSeek, Claude, Gemini, whatever large language model brain you use. So to attach one, I'm just going to click the plus sign right here, and it's going to give me a list of models. And if I scroll down right here, I'm going to see OpenAI as the chat model. And if you click this right here, this screen should be super familiar if you've been following along with everything I've been teaching you inside of Make. This is where you create that connection. And to do this, you need an API key from ChatGPT. I showed you guys how to do this before, but for anybody who hasn't been following, I'm just going to walk through it very quickly. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to platform.openai.com. This is where it's going to allow us to create an account inside of ChatGPT's developer portal, which lets us use ChatGPT from a developer/automation perspective without having to go to their website and actually use it in the chatbot interface. So here, if you don't have an account, you would click sign up and then select your Google account. Once that account is created, you're going to see a dashboard that looks like this. The way you get your API keys by clicking on the settings at the top right, and then on the left side, you're going to see a section called API keys. Here's where you can create that new secret key. Now I'm going to jump back to my other account. You guys can see I have a bunch of different keys here. I'm just going to create a brand new key just for testing. So as soon as I click that right here, click drop down on the projects, create secret key, and here is that key right here. It's going to allow you to use that large language model. Make sure nobody has access to this key. This is a super secret one. Click on copy, and then we're going to jump back inside of our n8n, and we're going to create a connection here. So I'm going to click the drop down, and it's going to ask us to create a new credential. Look at this. As soon as I click that, it's going to say paste in your API key right here. So all I would do at this point is just paste that key that we got, click save, and it's going to create that connection. I'm not going to redo it again because I already have that connection created, but once you click save, you're going to see a dashboard that literally looks exactly like this, right? It's going to say your OpenAI account's created. Which model do you want to select? Now, when you click this drop down, you're going to see a bunch of lists of models that are inside of ChatGPT. You guys can see we have like the old, very old 3.5, the 4 models, the 4.1, and if I scroll all the way down, we should be able to see GPT-5, which is where we're at right now. And selecting a model right here is very important. When you're selecting a model, you have to select it based on what you're trying to do. So some models are very good conversationally. Some models are designed for tool calling or like coding based things, right? So you have to understand the difference between these models. I'm not going to go through them in this video. I probably will make a dedicated video about those in the future. So for this demo, I'm just going to select 4.1 nano, and that's it. We pretty much don't need to configure anything outside of that. If you click on this add options, you're going to see a bunch of advanced options. We don't need to get into those for the purpose of this video. Now, the next thing we're going to configure is the memory. So I'm going to click the plus sign, and it's going to ask us which type of memory do you want to use. For the purpose of this video, we're going to choose simple memory. But if you wanted to build out bigger, more complex systems, you're going to use other types of databases for memory. I'm not going to go through those right now because they are advanced, but we're going to set up simple memory. So I'm going to click on that. And this is very straightforward. How many past interactions does the model receive as context when it's being used? So imagine if I said, hi, hey, hello, what's up? All of these are different interactions. And so in order for it to answer you on something that was maybe referenced like 3 or 4 or 5 messages ago, it needs to have that context loaded up in its context window. So here I'm just going to set it quickly to 50, right? And then I'm going to go back. And then that's it, the memory is done. And now, folks, we're at the part where we got to configure the tools. That's going to be the Google Docs tool and then the Google Calendar tool, the 2 of them, so that way it can get availability, make a booking, and actually look inside of the document. So if I click the plus sign right here in tools, the very first things you're going to see is recommended tools, okay? We're not going to touch those. We're going to scroll down a little bit, and all of these are different data stores. You don't need to know about them just yet, but here's where we're going to be actually doing the tools, and this is all of the native integrations. Look at this. I'm literally just going to scroll. Look at how many different applications. I mean, all of the Google Suite stuff, Facebook, GitHub, literally everything you can think of that's natively connected here is what we can use inside of this automation as tools. So if you wanted to build something that does something inside of Notion, or if you wanted to build an AI automation that does maybe something inside of Slack, you have the tools right here. Shopify, I mean, you just keep scrolling and you have so many different ones that are just natively ready for you guys to connect into and use inside of your AI agent. Now, if you've been watching me build systems inside of Make, you know how annoying it is to actually connect to some Google services. Google Docs and the calendar are 2 of those annoying ones. And I showed you guys how to create those connections inside of Make, but it's the exact same principle. You have to go to Google Cloud, create a project, do all of the OAuth and all the stuff that I showed you guys. I mean, I posted a 17-minute video literally walking through the entire thing. So let's just say I wanted to connect the Google Docs tool. I'm literally going to search Google Docs, and you can see there's Google Docs tool right here. You're not going to see all these options first. You have to create your own credential. This is where you're going to connect inside of your Google Docs account. Once you click on create new credential, you're going to see a page that looks just like this. And if you click on this open docs document and then scroll down a little bit, this is a YouTube video that walks you through how to create the connection from the beginning to end. All you have to do is open this up, follow it, and then you are going to be good to go on this connection. Now look, this 5-minute video is also going to walk you through on how to do the Google Calendar setup too. So you're going to set up both the Docs and the Google Calendar setup just by watching this 5-minute video and following along with it. Once you finish setting this up, you're going to paste your client ID and secret here, just like the video told you. You're going to click save, and then your connection is going to be good to go. You're going to have this exact page right here. At this stage, you're going to have these options. This, you're going to leave at set automatically. Resource, obviously, is going to be a document. And then what's the operation? What do we want to do inside of Google Documents? Let me click the drop down. You're going to see 4 different options. Create means we have to create a document. Get means we get the information from a document. And then update means we update a current document. We're not going to do a custom API call. So what do we want to do, right? We want to find our existing document and we want to get the information inside of it. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on get. Now, the next thing it's going to ask you is what is the document ID or the URL? All I'm going to do right now is open up that document, and then I'm going to make it shareable so this can access it. So boom, here's the document. Anyone with the link can view it. Cool. We're going to copy that link, jump back inside of Edit, and then I'm just going to paste that right here, and I'm going to leave this simplify turned on. That is it. We are done with the Google Docs bit. So I'm going to move this off to the side. I'm going to set up the Google Calendar. I'm going to click this plus sign one more time. This time, we're going to search for Google Calendar tool. And then when we open up this tool, also make sure you have your connection set up here. If you would have followed that 5-minute video, this would be the exact same client ID and secret. You just paste them in here, and then your connection should be good to go. So now this is asking you, okay, what is the Google Calendar account you want to use? Click the drop down. Obviously, if you connected it, you're only going to have one option here. Tool description is going to be set automatically. And then resource, well, what is it going to be? Is it going to be related to the calendar as a whole, or is it going to be related to an event? Well, if we're wanting to get the calendar's availability, this is going to be related to the calendar as a whole, right? We're not creating an event. It's not event based. So I'm going to click on calendar here. And then what's the operation? Obviously, it's the only operation we have here is availability. And then it's going to ask you to select that specific calendar. So I'm going to click the drop down right here. And then here's the only calendar, which is the same account that I connected. And then what's the start time and end time? What you want to do here is you want to let the AI fill this out based on the context of the input that it's receiving from whoever's playing around with it. So this little thing right here, if you click it, it says let the model define this parameter. All you gotta do is click that, and then automatically the start time and the end time would be defined by the AI itself. So that way you don't have to specifically set an expression that tells it, okay, I want it in this time, and then I want it in this time plus this many hours. So I'm just gonna do the same thing for both. So now the AI system can define the start time and the end time for whatever date, or it has to pull the availability from. One more thing you got to do here is click add options, and we have to set our time zone. If you don't set a time zone, it's going to be all over the place. The AI is not going to know what to do. It's going to default to basic UTC time. So we're going to click the drop down, and I'm just going to select my time zone. And once you select the time zone, just click out of here, and then you're good to go. And now I just set up the availability tool. I'm going to set up the actual booking tool. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to search for Google Calendar. That's going to be the tool we're using. Now for this resource tab, since we're creating an actual event instead of calendar, this is going to stay on event. Operation is going to be create, and then we're going to choose the same calendar, same as we did before, and also we're going to let these both be defined by the AI model. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to rename these 3 tools, because what we're going to do next is we're going to give this AI a system prompt, and we have to use the exact names of the tools, because when we instruct it, we have to tell it what each tool actually is called and what to use it and how to specifically use it. And so what I'm going to do right now is right click right here, click rename, and then I'm just going to name this get a document tool. I'm going to do the same thing for the other two just to make it a little bit more simpler. So I just renamed all 3 of them. This one is named now Google Docs tool, get availability tool, and create an event tool. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to jump inside of the agent itself, and I'm going to configure the specific settings, and I'm also going to explain to you what you guys are seeing right now. So source for prompt, right? This is what is the input that the agent is going to be receiving. And then you have 2 options right here. The connected chat trigger node. Obviously, this is this specific guy right here. This is the only connected chat trigger node. And then the only other option is define below. If you click on define below, this lets you choose what the input is from different modules. So imagine we had like a chain right here, right? Not this one, maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 right behind it. And you didn't want just this one to be the most recent input that goes into the agent. You can actually choose maybe the 3rd in line or the 4th in line, whichever one you want to do. That's what that define below option is for. But here, obviously, we're just going to use the connected chat trigger node, so I'm not going to touch this. Now, because I use this, it auto-filled the input. But you can see if I switch it, it's going to ask us to map the input right here, which basically you would have the option to choose some response from 2 or 3 modules ago. I'm just going to switch this back to the connected chat node. Requires specific output format. You don't have to check this on. You'd only do this if you're working on something very specific where the output format has to be different than what it's actually coming out of. And then enable fallback model. This is if the model fails, maybe you want it to go to another model. For example, if ChatGPT is down, you'll say, okay, I want the fallback model to be DeepSeek. So then ChatGPT fails, it goes to DeepSeek. What we do at this point is we click this add options drop down, and just like we do inside of make.com, we got to add a system message. This is going to be a system prompt. It basically tells the AI what it is, what it does, and how it's supposed to operate. And all I'm going to do from this point is just copy the one I used from the demo and just paste it here. This is a super simple one. It's like 4 lines, right? And all we're saying is we're telling it you're a helpful assistant designed to answer questions you're asked and the tasks you need to do. You have access to the following tools. So this is where we're going to be naming those actual tools and telling it when to use the tool and how to use it. So number 1, Google Docs tool, which is used to get a document's information in a Google Docs. Get availability tool, which is used to get availability in a calendar in a Google Calendar. And then create an event tool, which is used to create an event in a Google Calendar. Off the bat, we defined what the tool names are, how to use the tool, and when to use the tool. So then we're telling it down here, use these as needed based on the context of the input you received from the user. I gave it no further instructions because this is a simple demo. Obviously, if you're building more things, you're going to want to make sure the system prompt is accurate, long, and detailed. And I'm not going to dive into system prompting in this video, but you can basically copy this exact prompt and just build this little tiny thing for yourself to actually experience with it. One more thing we got to do inside of the AI agent node is inside of the system prompt right here, you have to tell it what the current time it is because it doesn't know that by default. So the way we're going to do that is we're going to say the current time is, make sure this is on expression, and all you have to do is open up 2 curly braces. You're going to see these 4 different options. You're going to click on now. So what happens in the back end is this now gets replaced with the current time right now. So you're telling the AI the current time is right now, and then whenever it uses the actual availability tool or the Google Calendar booking tool, it's going to reference now as the time, and it knows exactly when to do it. All right, so I'm just going to test it real quick. I'm going to say, is 6 p.m. tomorrow available? I know it's not available, but I want to see it use the availability tool basically and figure that out on its own. So there it is. It just used the availability tool. Let's see what it comes back with. Okay, 6 p.m. is not available. Do you want to check another time? If I open up the results of the get availability, we can see that the AI chose this start time and this end time, which this is in UTC, but if you convert it back, this is checking for exactly 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. It's working perfect. And now for the final test, I'm going to tell it to schedule something on 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. on September 10th, which is tomorrow. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to say, schedule a booking for 8 p.m. tomorrow, and let's see what happens. It's probably going to ask me, do I want a 30-minute or an hour, or should the time for 8 p.m. has been successfully booked? Okay, so it looks like it already did it. And there it is. It just did a schedule with no title. I mean, I just didn't tell it anything else besides do a schedule. So it did it. Now I verified everything works from end to end. And just like that, I just walked you through how to build your very first AI agent inside of N8N. We're going to be building much more complex stuff. With this being said, I'm going to give you guys a lot of more blueprints for N8N, but this is a starter for you guys who've never touched N8N before. Follow this and you should be able to get this exact agent that I just built. Later on down the line, we're going to build some much crazier stuff.